England has a fundamental issue where they're too hard on it. Every country's hard on their players. But I think England, for some reason, has this thing where, I'll use that Kane piece as an example. Kane can score goals. We know that. He, at Tottenham, was missing a couple of pieces to win trophies. That penalty shot in the semifinals against France, he should have buried. But
100%.
We could literally have seen him shot it over the bar. Me and you would have looked at each other and gone, "That's so English." There's something fundamentally wrong with the way the fans treat the players.
Beckham.
There's too much pressure.
Beckham, Southgate, the manager at the time, he had that missed penalty. You're right. There is something there. It's that English curse. There is a lot of pressure on it, and they go absolutely bananas when the inevitable happens, and they obviously don't perform. Man, you had a great. I agree, and it was so good that I forgot my point. Then it was probably just me agreeing with you.
But seriously, like I say that too, knowing that every country is fanatical about soccer. But I think when like the German team loses, the German team's just like, okay, pick yourself up. What are we going to do about it? The Italian team fired the entire their FA when they missed that first Euro. They figured it out. When England loses, though, it's all on the players.
You're right. It is all on the players. I mean, South Americans will riot, but yeah, it's just the abuse. You see it with Beckham, right? Beckham, when he was going through all that crap, and then the golden generation, and then the abuse that Bukayo Saka was taking after he missed the penalty in the final. He's 19. The guy's 19. Do you remember that year? This is going to be off topic because it's soccer, but the year the World Juniors, that Canadian team lost for the first time, and they're just 18, 19-year-old kids, and the country went nuts on them, like online, just attacking. They're kids. Now, I know that's a different story because Bukayo Saka is making millions at 19, like millions upon millions, and he's a professional at this point, but he's still learning. I mean, Beckham's missed that penalty.
Penalties? He took the red card against the game in Argentina. Which people will never forgive him for.
No, the pressure that they put on them, and and when you grow up probably with that as a player in England, you know it's always in the back of your mind, and it's probably going to give you the yips when you put on the 3 lines jersey. Like, you want to perform well, but it's just so much pressure. And the added bonus of, you're right, there's always something of that's so English. Right.
Yeah, and it along we're same topic. Kane misses the penalty. The first thing you read on Twitter is from the English fans, "That's so Tottenham." It's not like, "Well, that sucks." Sorry, England. Oh, my bad. The second something goes wrong, Bukayo Saka, I won't mention why they roasted him very unfairly. He missed a shot as a 19-year-old. In the biggest game, and they instantly attack him for something he can't change. Right? Kane's a Tottenham player.
Something absolutely ridiculous. You can't change that. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, no room in the game for what they did.
Yeah, English fans, the second someone misses, they're like, "Oh, well, if he played for Nottingham Forest, he would have scored." It's like, no, shut the fuck up.
They still have those. You know what? I was going back to Italy 06, the cohesion, the love, the country comes together. North v South in Italy, they hate each other. They hate each other. And by north, I mean, are you north of where I live, even though I live in the south? But every 2 years when an international tournament comes around, together. Versus in England, you don't see it as much. I'm sure it happens. It's there. But you're right. It's bougie South versus industrial North, right? Like, it's still and then even within London, you're still going to have your factions, right? It's still... There still isn't that cohesion. Part of it too with England is, the argument could be made, and they're trying to alter how they bring up their youngsters, but just the way that they're trained, and the way that they groom young players, and how they are practicing and taught the game versus the freedom that, say, French players get or South American players get, or even Italy's been struggling a lot. You look at that team, and I don't see any superstars, and you haven't seen a superstar who wasn't a defender in years and years and years, probably since Del Piero retired.
Yeah.
But yeah, in England, you don't see those. They're not given. It's very structured and it's very rigid, or at least it was. And when those golden generations were coming up, that's what they were coming up through. It was that structure and that rigid and not a lot of freedom. And, you practice the way you play, so you can't try things out. And you don't know what you're good at or what you suck at or what you need to work at. Pogba always said the best thing for him, and he's a magician with the ball, regardless of what's going on in his life. Best thing for him was that, 2 hours of free playtime after practice where he would just do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, and I think the same lines you're talking about, I think it's interesting if you think about it on a national scale. You mentioned England, very structured. You mentioned Netherlands, very structured. If you're a coach of any one of those other teams, I'm no coach, never be a coach, couldn't do it. But I could have a couple of tactics in my back pocket of how to play the Netherlands because they're so structured. I don't care if they have Bergkamp or where they have Depay on the team. I could figure out a way just because Netherlands plays football this way.
You'll Italy coach your way around it.
Exactly. And you've seen historical teams beat the Netherlands. We've watched those highlights. We've watched those games. Exactly like you said, young kids in England are trained a certain way. Young kids in Netherlands, same way. Young kids in France come from absolutely everywhere around the world. So who knows? It's a jack in the box. But it's all fascinating because
that's why an African team will never win the World Cup is because France keeps stealing all their players.
Wait. Yeah, they're all born in Paris. Please remember that.
But it's not just that, and that's a whole other conversation to have. But you're right. When your back's against it and you're down 1-0, whatever, and you need to go, you need somebody to take over the game. When you look at those old English squads, and I think it's a good thing now that you got some youngsters with some flair and some talent and some creativity. And Bellingham, like we said, Bellingham is playing outside and is training and developing outside of it.
Declan Rice being the holding mid, yeah.
Well, he's just a good old fashioned, but he's a nice blend of the good old fashioned English player and like the new age high skill.